I think we're live. Yes.
Would be nice.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes. It looks like everything is go.
Seems to be going well indeed.
Welcome everyone to another Cats and Coffee session. Today our lovely Redency will do her reading of Just So Stories by Rudyard Kipling.
Yes, probably we're going to finish this time. So we'll have completed a book together.
Mm-hmm. And we will do this as per usual. I don't know how long this story will be. So we'll see about taking breaks or anything like that, but that's up to you. And if you want to do 1.5 hours of reading all by itself, it's fine by me.
Right. Kirasakyo said that he heard a strange voice.
Now that's Furry, and Furry is being a
Right.
total insert bad word
Oh,
here again.
yes.
Because he's talking about me, and he should be used to me right now. So, anyway,
No, he's hearing voices. That's
uh,
totally his own fault.
mm-hmm. Anyway, Furry, I'm
That's
a
the first. That's the first step towards becoming a serial killer. So beware.
That's okay, Furry. You have been coming here since the beginning, and I have been here since the beginning. So, either you're a true masochist, or you love hearing me and you just won't admit it. Anyway, that's for a discussion for later. For now, we're going to let Reninci do her thing, which means I'm shutting up right now. Good luck, and have fun.
Thank you very much. Then let's talk about a story about a cat. Namely, ooh, Furry, you're going wild with the teases. The story is The Cat That Walked by Himself. Hear and attend and listen, for this befell and behappened and became and was, O my best beloved, when the tame animals were wild. The dog was wild, and the horse was wild, and the cow was wild, and the sheep was wild, and the pig was wild as wild could be. And they walked in the wet wild woods by the wild lawns. But the wildest of all the wild animals was the cat. He walked by himself, and all places were alike to him. Of course, the man was wild too. He was dreadfully wild. He didn't even begin to be tame till he met the woman, and she told him that she did not like living in these wild ways. She picked out a nice dry cave instead of a heap of wet leaves to lie down in, and she strewed clean sand on the floor, and she lit a nice fire of wood at the back of the cave, and she hung a dried wild horse skin, tail down, across the opening of the cave, and she said, "Wipe your feet, dear, when you come in, and now we'll keep house." That night, best beloved, they ate wild sheep roasted on the hot stones, and flavored with wild garlic and wild pepper, and wild duck stuffed with wild rice and wild fenugreek and wild coriander, and marrow bones of wild oxen, and wild cherries and wild grenadillas. Then the men went to sleep in front of the fire, ever so happy. But the woman sat up, combing her hair. She took the bone of the shoulder of the mutton, the thick, big fat blade bone, and she looked at the wonderful marks on it. And she threw more wood on the fire, and she made magic. She made the first singing magic in the world. Out in the wet wild woods, all the wild animals gathered together, where they could see the light of the fire long way off, and they wondered what it meant. Then Wild Horse stamped with his wild foot and said, "Whoa, my friends, and whoa, my enemies! Why have the man and the woman made that great light in that great cave? And what will it do to us?" Wild Dog lifted up his wild nose and smelled the smell of roast mutton and said, "I will go up and see and look and say, for I think it is good. Cat, come with me." "Nanny," said the cat, "I am the cat who walks by himself, and all places are alike to me. I will not come." "Then we can never be friends again," said Wild Dog, and he trotted off to the cave. But when he had gone a little way, the cat said to himself, "All places are alike to me. Why should I not go too, and see, and look, and come away at my own liking?" So he slipped after Wild Dog softly, very softly, and hid himself where he could hear everything. When Wild Dog reached the mouth of the cave, he lifted up the dried horse skin with his nose and sniffed the beautiful smell of the roast mutton, and the woman, looking at the blade bone, heard him and laughed and said, "Here comes the first wild thing out of the wild woods. What do you want?" Wild Dog said, "Oh, enemy and wife of my enemy, what is this that smells so good in the wild woods?" Then the woman picked up a roasted mutton bone and threw it to the Wild Dog and said, "Wild thing out of the wild woods, taste and try." Wild Dog gnawed at the bone, and it was more delicious than anything he had ever tasted. And he said, "Oh, my wife, and oh, my enemy and wife of my enemy, give me another one." And the woman said, "Wild thing out of the wild woods, help my man to hunt through the day and guard his cave at night, and I will give you as many roast bones as you need." "Ah," said the cat, listening, "this is a very wise woman, but she is not so wise as I am." Wild Dog crawled into the cave and laid his head on the woman's lap and said, "Oh, my friend and wife of my friend, I will help your man to hunt through the day, and at night I will guard your cave." "Ah," said the cat, listening, "that is a very foolish dog. And he went back through the wet wild woods, waving his wild tail and walking by his wild lone. But he never told anybody. When the man woke up, he said, "What is this wild dog doing here?" And the woman said, "His name is not Wild Dog anymore, but the first friend, because he will be our friend for always and always and always. Take him with you when you go hunting." Next night, the woman cut great green armfuls of fresh grass from the water meadows and dried it before the fire, so that it smelt like new mown hay. And she sat at the mouth of the cave and plaited a halter out of horsehide, and she looked at the shoulder of a mutton bone, at the big broad blade bone, and she made a magic. She made the second singing magic in the world. Out in the wild woods, all the wild animals wondered what had happened to Wild Dog. And at last, Wild Horse stamped with his foot and said, "I will go and see what Wild Dog has not returned. Cat, come with me." "Nanny," said the cat, "I am the cat who walks by himself, and all places are alike to me. I will not come." But all the same, he followed Wild Horse softly, very softly, and he hid himself where he could hear everything. When the woman heard Wild Horse tripping and stumbling on his long mane, she laughed and said, "Here comes the second wild thing out of the wild woods. What do you want?" Wild Horse said, "Oh, my enemy and wife of my enemy, where is Wild Dog?" The woman laughed and picked up the blade bone and looked at it and said, "Wild thing out of the wild woods, you did not come here for Wild Dog, but for the sake of this good grass." And Wild Horse, tripping and stumbling on his long mane, said, "That is true. Give it to me to eat." The woman said, "Wild thing out of the wild woods, bend your wild head and wear what I'll give you, and you shall eat the wonderful grass 3 times a day." "Ah," said the cat, listening, "this is a clever woman, but she is not so clever as I am." Wild Horse bent his wild head, and the woman slipped the plaited hide halter over it. And the Wild Horse breathed on the woman's feet and said, "Oh, my mistress and wife of my master, I will be your servant for the sake of the wonderful grass." "Ah," said the cat, listening, "that is a very foolish horse." And he went back through the wet wild woods, waving his wild tail and walking by his wild lone. But he never told anybody. When the man and the dog came back from hunting, the man said, "What is Wild Horse doing here?" And the woman said, "His name is not Wild Horse any more, but the first servant, and he will carry us from place to place for always and always and always. Ride on his back when you go hunting." Next day, holding her wild head high, that the wild horns should not catch in the wild trees, Wild Cow came up to the cave, and the cat followed and hid himself just the same as before, and everything happened just the same as before, and the cat said the same things as before. And when Wild Cow had promised to give her milk to the woman every day in exchange for the wonderful grass, the cat went back through the wild wet woods, leaving his wild tail and walking by his wild lone, just the same as before. But he never told anybody. And when the man and the horse and the dog came home from hunting and asked the same questions, same as before, the woman said, "Her name is not Wild Cow anymore, but the giver of good food. She will give us the warm white milk for always and always and always. And I will take care of her while you and the first friend and the first servant go hunting." Next day, the cat waited to see if any other wild thing would go up to the cave, but no one moved in the wet wild woods. So the cat walked there by himself, and he saw the woman milking the cow, and he saw the light of the fire in the cave, and he smelled the smell of the warm white milk. Cat said, "Oh, my enemy, and wife of my enemy, where did Wild Cow go?" The woman laughed and said, "Wild thing out of the wild woods, go back to the woods again, for I have braided up my hair, and I have put away the magic blade bone, and we have no more need of either friends or servants in our cave." Cat said, "I am not a friend, and I am not a servant. I am the cat who walks by himself, and I wish to come into your cave." Woman said, "Then why did you not come with first friend on the first night?" Cat grew very angry and said, "Has Wild Dog told tales of me?" Then the woman laughed and said, "You are the cat who walks by himself, and all places are alike to you. You are neither a friend nor a servant. You have said it yourself. Go away and walk by yourself in all places alike." Then the cat pretended to be sorry and said, "Must I never come into the cave? Must I never sit by the warm fire? Must I never drink the warm white milk? You are very wise and very beautiful. You should not be cruel, even to a cat." Woman said, "I knew I was wise. but I did not know I was beautiful. So I will make a bargain with you. If ever I say one word in your praise, you may come into the cave. And if you say 2 words in my praise, said the cat. I never shall, said the woman. But if I say 2 words in your praise, you may sit by the fire in the cave. Mm. And if you say 3 words, said the cat. I never shall, said the woman. But if I say 3 words in your praise, you may drink the warm white milk 3 times a day for always and always and always. Then the cat arched his back and said, Now let the curtain at the mouth of the cave, and the fire at the back of the cave, and the milk pots that stand beside the fire, remember what my enemy and the wife of my enemy has said. And he went away through the wild wet woods, waving his wild tail and walking by his wild lone. That night, when the man and the horse and the dog came home from hunting, the woman did not tell them of the bargain that she had made with the cat, because she was afraid that they might not like it. Cat went far and far away and hid himself in the wet wild woods by his wild lone for a long time, till the woman forgot all about him. Only the bat, the little upside down bat that hung inside the cave, knew where the cat hid. And every evening the bat would fly to Cat with news of what was happening. One evening Bat said, There is a baby in the cave. He is new and pink and fat and small, and the woman is very fond of him. Ah, said the cat, listening. But what is the baby fond of? He is fond of things that are soft and tickle, said the bat. He is fond of warm things to hold in his arms when he goes to sleep. He is fond of being played with. He is fond of all those things. Ah, said the cat, listening. Then my time has come. Next night, Cat walked through the wet wild woods and hid very near the cave till morning time, and man and dog and horse went hunting. The woman was busy cooking that morning, and the baby cried and interrupted. So she carried him outside the cave and gave him a handful of pebbles to play with. But still, the baby cried. Then the cat put out his petty paw and patted the baby on the cheek, and it cooed. And the cat rubbed against its fat knees and tickled it under its fat chin with his tail. And the baby laughed. And the woman heard him and smiled. Then the bat, the little upside down bat that hung in the mouth of the cave, said, Oh, my hostess, and wife of my host, and mother of my host's son, a wild thing from the wild woods is most beautifully playing with your baby. A blessing on that wild thing, whoever he may be, said the woman, straightening her back. For I was a busy woman this morning, and he has done me a service. That very minute and second, best beloved, the dried horse skin curtain that was stretched tail down at the mouth of the cave fell down, whoosh, because it remembered the bargain she had made with the cat. And when the woman went to pick it up, lo and behold, the cat was sitting quite comfy inside the cave. Oh, my enemy, and wife of my enemy, and mother of my enemy, said the cat, it is I, for you have spoken a word in my praise, and now I can sit within the cave for always and always and always. But still, I am the cat who walks by himself, and all places are alike to me. The woman was very angry and shut her lips tight and took up her spinning wheel and began to spin. But the baby cried because the cat had gone away, and the woman could not hush it, for it struggled and kicked and grew black in the face. Oh, my enemy, and wife of my enemy, and mother of my enemy, said the cat. Take a strand of wire that you are spinning and tie it to your spinning whorl and drag it along the floor, and I will show you a magic that shall make your baby laugh as loudly as he is now crying. I will do so, said the woman, because I am at my wits' end, but I will not thank you for it. She tied the thread to the little clay spindle whorl and threw it across the floor, and the cat ran after it and patted it with his paws and rolled head over heels and tossed it backward over his shoulder and chased it between his hind legs and pretended to lose it and pounced down upon it again, till the baby laughed as loudly as it had been crying, and scrambled after the cat and frolicked all over the cave till it grew tired and settled down to sleep with the cat in its arms. Now, said the cat, I will sing the baby a song that shall keep him asleep for an hour. And he began to purr loud and low, low and loud, till the baby fell fast asleep. The woman smiled as she looked down upon the two of them and said, that was wonderfully done. No question but you are a very clever cat. That very minute and second, best beloved, the smoke of the fire at the back of the cave came down in clouds from the roof, puff, because it remembered the bargain she had made with the cat. And when it had cleared away, lo and behold, the cat was sitting quite comfy close to the fire. Oh, my enemy, and wife of my enemy, and mother of my enemy, said the cat, it is I, for you have spoken a second word in my praise, and now I can sit by the warm fire at the back of the cave for always and always and always. But still, I am the cat who walks by himself, and all places are alike to me. Then the woman was very, very angry, and let down her hair, and put more wood on the fire, and brought out the broad blade bone of the shoulder of mutton, and began to make a magic that should prevent her from saying a third word in praise of the cat. It was not a singing magic, best beloved. It was a still magic, and by, the cave grew so still that a little wee mouse crept out of a corner and ran across the floor. Oh, my enemy, and wife of my enemy, and mother of my enemy, said the cat. Is that little mouse part of your magic? Ouch! Gee! No, indeed, said the woman, and she dropped the blade bone and jumped upon the footstool in front of the fire and braided up her hair very quick for fear that the mouse should run up to it. Ah, said the cat, watching. Then the mouse will do me no harm if I eat it. No, said the woman, braiding up her hair. Eat it quickly, and I will ever be grateful to you. Cat made one jump and caught the little mouse, and the woman said, 100 thanks. Even the first friend is not quick enough to catch little mice as you have done. You must be very wise. That very moment and second, O best beloved, the milk pot that stood by the fire cracked in two pieces, because it remembered the bargain she had made with the cat. And when the woman jumped down from the footstool, lo and behold, the cat was lapping up the warm white milk that lay in one of the broken pieces. Oh, my enemy, and wife of my enemy, and mother of my enemy, said the cat. It is I, for you have spoken 3 words in my praise, and now I can drink the warm white milk 3 times a day for always and always and always. But still, I am the cat who walks by himself, and all places are alike to me. Then the woman laughed and set the cat a bowl of the warm white milk and said, "Oh, cat, you are as clever as a man, but remember that your bargain was not made with the man or the dog, and I do not know what they will do when they come home." "What is that to me?" said the cat. If I have my place in the cave by the fire, and my warm white milk 3 times a day, I do not care what the man or the dog can do." That evening, when the man and the dog came into the cave, the woman told them all the story of the bargain, while the cat sat by the fire and smiled. Then the man said, "Yes, but he has not made a bargain with me or with all proper men after me." Then he took off his 2 leather boots, and he took up his white stone axe, that makes 3, and he fetched a piece of wood, and he hedged, that is 5 altogether, and he set them out in a row, and he said, "Now will make our bargain. If you do not catch mice when you are in the cave, for always and always and always, I will throw these 5 things at you whenever I see you, and so shall all proper men do after me." "Ah," said the woman, listening. This is a very clever cat, but he is not so clever as my man. The cat counted the 5 things, and they looked very knobby, and he said, I will catch mice when I am in the cave, for always and always and always. But still, I am the cat who walks by himself, and all places are alike to me. Not when I am near, said the man. If you had not said that last, I would have put all these things away for always and always and always. But I am now going to throw my 2 boots and my little stone axe, that makes 3, at you whenever I meet you, and so shall all proper men do after me. Then the dog said, Wait a minute. He has not made a bargain with me, or with all proper dogs after me. And he showed his teeth and said, If you are not kind to the baby while I am in the cave, for always and always and always, I will hunt you till I catch you, and when I catch you, I will bite you, and so shall all proper dogs do after me. Ah, said the woman, listening. This is a very clever cat, but he is not so clever as the dog. Cat counted the dog's teeth, and they looked very pointed, and he said, I will be kind to the baby while I am in the cave, as long as he does not pull my tail too hard, for always and always and always. But now I am going to hunt you up. No? But I am still the cat that walks by himself, and all places are alike to me. Not when I am near, said the dog. If you had not said that last, I would have shut my mouth for always and always and always. But now I am going to hunt you up a tree whenever I meet you, and so shall all proper dogs do after me. Then the man threw his 2 boots at the little stone and his little stone axe, that makes 3, at the cat, and the cat ran out of the cave, and the dog chased him up a tree, and from that day to this, best beloved, 3 proper men out of 5 will always throw things at a cat whenever they meet him, and all proper dogs will chase him up a tree. But the cat keeps his side of the bargain too. He will kill mice, and he will be kind to babies when he is in the house, just as long as they do not pull his tail too hard. But when he has done that, and between times, and when the moon gets up and night comes, he is the cat that walks by himself, and all places are alike to him. Then he goes out to the wet wild woods, or up the wet wild trees, or on the wet wild roofs, waving his wild tail and walking by his wild lone. And then there's the poem. Pussy can sit by the fire and sing. Pussy can climb a tree, or play with a silly old cork and string to amuse herself, not me. But I like Binky my dog because he knows how to behave. So Binky's the name, as the first friend was, and I am the man in the cave. Pussy will play Man Friday till it's time to make wet her paw, and make her walk on the window sill for the footprint Crusoe saw. then she fluffles her tail and meows, and scratches and won't attend. But Pinky will play whatever I choose, and he is my true first friend. Pussy will rub my knees with her head, pretending she loves me hard. But the very minute I go to my bed, Pussy runs out in the yard, and there she still stays till the morning light. And so I know it is only pretend. But Pinky, he snores at my feet all night, and he is my firstest friend. And this was the first story of tonight.
And Kira Sakijo says correctly, and now we are slaves of cats.
Yes, that's how it happened.
Well, in the meantime, well done. It was a good story. It explains so much.
Yes, very typical cat.
Mm-hmm.
Indeed, Phoenicia.
Let's see. Kodeko, in the meantime, has joined the stream and he said something about having to come back and watch more because he has been away too long.
That's
Ramstein
nice.
Foss was talking about Wise and Beautiful. Well, I heard something about Wise and Beautiful as he came in, so he immediately linked it to you.
It was the first woman who was wise and beautiful.
Yeah, I think you will still say yes. What did I say then? Let's see. Also, there was a question about how else is doing. Answered that with a small summary. And Curious is trying to kick back and relax a bit.
Yes, avid use of the word wild. Yeah, definitely. At some point, you start to feel it because you make the same movement with your lips and the jaw. It's like wild, and find a new way to say wild, and also forever, for always and always and always. You know, that was used a lot as well. There's a lot of repeating words in these stories because they've been written for children to read. And one of the things that you will see in children's books is a lot of repetition of certain things. So it might be in the structure of the story, or it might be in the words that are used. And if you start to look at children's stories when you're an adult, you're going to notice all these things that you haven't recognized when you were a child, but it actually works um, for kids if there's some repetition in the story and in some of the words or in the structure, or like every chapter starts with the same words, or just whatever way you use it. um, it is if you're going to look up how to write a children's a book, then especially for the youngest kids, that is going to be the number one tip. um, and I think that it gets them in some kind of a trance, or they understand things. They hold on to these things that are repeated because it's clear to them. They okay, this is a basic thing, and then all the other things that are being told are new things, but yeah, it's easier to understand.
And Wise One joined. And something about the Wise and Beautiful, of course.
Welcome, wise one.
A
You are
wild,
truly beautiful.
a wild Wise One appears.
Yeah.
So, I think, do you need a drink or something like that? Oh, and of course, Felicia asked something about kittens.
Yes, they are becoming quite big. Let's see if I can. I don't see them right now. I've heard them all day because they were destroying everything that they could see. But I'm quite thankful that they're a bit, yeah, at rest now. But if they're going to be making a lot of noise, then I will show them. Yeah, I actually didn't get a drink today, so.
at that first, I think, before we continue with the next one?
Um, no, actually, I think I can do the next one. I'll have extra water after the story.
Well, in that case, let's launch the story of, I think, the butterfly?
Yes, the butterfly that stamped.
Ah, the butterfly before the butterfly effect. Check.
Yeah.
Pollen.
And it's the last story in this book.
Ooh, last story. Well, this story took you, the last story took you about 40 minutes, so
Yeah,
as
so maybe we'll make it to the end of the stream with this.
well, good luck.
Yes, the butterfly that stamped. This, oh my best beloved, is a story, a new and wonderful story. A story quite different from the other stories. A story about the most wise sovereign Suleiman bin Daud, Solomon, the son of David. There are 355 stories about Suleiman bin Daud, but this is not one of them. This is the story of the lapwing who found the water, or the hopu who shaded Suleiman bin Daud from the heat. It is not the story of the glass pavement, or the ruby with the crooked hole, or the gold bars of Balkis. It is the story of the butterfly that stamped. Now attend all over again and listen. Suleiman bin Daud was wise. He understood what the beast said, and what the bird said, and what the fishes said, and what the insects said. He understood what the rocks said. Deep under the earth, when they bowed in towards each other and groaned. And he understood what the trees said when they rustled in the middle of the morning. He understood everything, from the bishop on the bench to the bishop on the wall, and Balkis, his head queen, the most beautiful queen Balkis, was nearly as wise as he was. Suleiman bin Daud was strong. Upon the third finger of the right hand he wore a ring. When he turned it once, Afrits and jinns came out of the earth to do whatever he told them. When he turned it twice, fairies came down from the sky to do whatever he told them. And when he turned it 3 times, the very great angel Azrael of the sword came dressed as a water carrier and told him the news of the 3 worlds, above, below, and here. And yet, Suleiman bin Daud was not proud. He very seldom showed off. And when he did, he was sorry for it. Once he tried to feed all the animals in the world, all in one day. But when the food was ready, an animal came out of the deep sea and ate it up in 3 mouthfuls. Suleiman bin Daud was very surprised and said, "Oh animal, who are you?" And the animal said, "O king, live forever. I am the smallest of 30,000 brothers, and our home is at the bottom of the sea. We heard that you were going to feed all the animals in the world, and my brothers sent me to ask when dinner would be ready." Sulaiman bin Daud was more surprised than ever and said, "Oh, animal, you have eaten all the dinner that I made ready for all the animals in the world." And the animal said, "O king, live forever. But do you really call that a dinner? Where I come from, we each eat twice as much as that between meals." Then Sulaiman bin Daud fell flat on his face and said, "Oh, animal, I gave that dinner to show what a great and rich king I was, and not because I really wanted to be kind to the animals. Now I am ashamed, and it serves me right." Sulaiman bin Daud was a really, truly wise man, best beloved. After that, he never forgot that it was silly to show off. And now, the real story part of my story begins. He married ever so many wives. He married 999 wives, besides the most beautiful Balkis, and they all lived in a great golden palace in the middle of a lovely garden with fountains. He didn't really want 999 wives, but in those days everybody married ever so many wives, and of course the king had to marry ever so many more just to show that he was the king. Some of the wives were nice, but some were simply horrid, and the horrid ones quarreled with the nice ones and made them horrid too. And then they would all quarrel with Sulaiman bin Daud, and that was horrid for him. But Balkis, the most beautiful, never quarreled with Sulaiman bin Daud. She loved him too much. She sat in her rooms in the Golden Palace, or walked in the palace garden, and was truly sorry for him. Of course, if he had chosen to turn his ring on his finger and call up the jinns and the afrits, they would have magicked all those 999 quarrelsome wives into white mules of the desert, or greyhounds, or pomegranate seeds. But Sulaiman bin Daud thought that would be showing off. So, when they quarreled too much, he only walked by himself in one part of the beautiful palace gardens and wished that he had never been born. One day, when they had quarreled for 3 weeks, all 999 wives together, Sulaiman bin Daud went out for peace and quiet as usual. And among the orange trees, he met Balkis, the most beautiful, very sorrowful, because Sulaiman bin Daud was so worried. And she said to him, "Oh, my lord, and light of my eyes, turn the ring upon your finger, and show these queens of Egypt and Mesopotamia and Persia and China that you are the great and terrible king." But Sulaiman bin Daud shook his head and said, "Oh, my lady, and delight of my life, remember the animal that came out of the sea and made me ashamed before all the animals in the world because I showed off? Now, if I showed off before these queens of Persia and Egypt and Abyssinia and China merely because they worry me, I might be made even more ashamed than I have been." And Balkis, the most beautiful, said, "Oh, my lord and treasure of my soul, what will you do?" And Sulaiman bin Daud said, "O my lady and content of my heart, I shall continue to endure my fate at the hands of these 999 queens who vex me with their continual quarreling. So he went on, between the lilies and the loquats, and the roses and the cannas, and the heavy-scented ginger plants that grew in the garden, till he came to the great camphor tree that was called the camphor tree of Suleiman bin Daud. But Balkis hid among the tall irises and the spotted bamboos and the red lilies behind the camphor tree, so as to be near her own true love, Suleiman bin Daud. Presently, 2 butterflies flew under the tree, quarreling. Suleiman bin Daud heard one say to the other, "I wonder at your presumption in talking like this to me. Don't you know that if I stamped with my foot, all Suleiman bin Daud's palace and his garden here would immediately vanish in the clap of a thunder?" Then Suleiman bin Daud forgot his 999 bothersome wives and laughed till the camphor tree shook and at the butterfly's boast. And he held out his finger and said, "Little man, come here." But Butterfly was dreadfully frightened. But he managed to fly up to the hand of Suleiman bin Daud and clung there, fanning himself. Suleiman bin Daud bent his head and whispered very softly, "Little man, you know that all your stamping wouldn't bend one blade of grass? What made you tell that awful fib to your wife? For doubtless she is your wife." The butterfly looked at Suleiman bin Daud and saw the most wise king's eyes twinkle like stars on a frosty night. And he picked up his courage with both wings, and he put his head on one side and said, "O king, live forever. She is my wife, and you know what wives are like." Suleiman bin Daud smiled in his beard and said, "Yes, I know, little brother. One must keep them in order somehow," said the butterfly, "and she has been quarreling with me all the morning. I said that to quiet her." And Suleiman bin Daud said, "May it quiet her. Go back to your wife, little brother, and let me hear what you say." Back flew the butterfly to his wife, who was all of a twitter behind the leaf, and she said, "He heard you. Suleiman bin Daud himself heard you." "Heard me," said the butterfly. "Of course he did. I meant him to hear me." "And what did he say? Oh, what did he say?" "Well," said the butterfly, fanning himself most importantly, "between you and me, my dear, of course I don't blame him, because his palace must have cost a great deal, and the oranges are just ripening. He asked me not to stamp, and I promised I wouldn't." "Gracious," said his wife, and sat quite quiet. But Suleiman bin Daud laughed till the tears ran down his face at the impudence of the bad little butterfly. Balkis, the most beautiful, stood up behind the tree among the red lilies and smiled to herself, for she had heard all this talk. She thought, "If I am wise, I can yet save my lord from the persecutions of these quarrelsome queens." And she held out her finger and whispered softly to the butterfly's wife, "Little woman, come here." Up flew the butterfly's wife, very frightened, and clung to Balki's white hand. Balkis bent her beautiful head down and whispered, "Little woman, do you believe what your husband has just said?" The butterfly's wife looked at Balkis and saw the most beautiful queen's eyes shining like deep pools with starlights on them. And she picked up her courage with both wings and said, "Oh, queen, be lovely forever. You know what men folk are like." And the little Queen Balkis, the wise Balkis of Sheba, put her hand to her lips to hide a smile and said, "Little sister, I know." "They get angry," said the butterfly's wife, fanning herself quickly, "over nothing at all. But we must humor them, O queen. They never mean half they say. If it pleases my husband to believe that I believe, he can make Suleiman bin Daud's palace disappear by stamping his foot. I'm sure I don't care. He'll forget all about it tomorrow." "Little sister," said Balkis, "you are quite right. But next time he begins to boast, take him at his word. Ask him to stamp and see what will happen. We know what menfolk are like, don't we? He'll be very much ashamed." Away flew the butterfly's wife to her husband, and in 5 minutes they were quarreling worse than ever. "Remember," said the butterfly, "remember what I can do if I stamp my foot." "I don't believe you one little bit," said the butterfly's wife. "I should very much like to see it done. Suppose you stamp now." I promised Suleiman bin Daud that I wouldn't," said the butterfly, "and I don't want to break my promise." "It wouldn't matter if you did," said the wife. "You couldn't bend a blade of grass with your stamping. I dare you to do it," she said. "Stamp, stamp, stamp." Suleiman bin Daud, sitting under the camphor tree, heard every word of this, and he laughed as if he had never laughed in his life before. He forgot all about his queens. He forgot all about the animal that came out of the sea. He forgot about showing off. He just laughed with joy, and Balkis on the other side of the tree smiled because her own true love was so joyful. Presently the butterfly, very hot and puffy, came whirling back under the shadow of the camphor tree and said to Suleiman, "She wants me to stamp. She wants to see what will happen, O Suleiman bin Daud. You know I can't do it, but now she'll never believe a word I say. She'll laugh at me to the end of my days." "No, little brother," said Suleiman bin Daud. "She will never laugh at you again." And he turned the ring on his finger, just for the little butterfly's sake, not for the sake of showing off. And lo and behold, 4 huge jinns came out of the earth. "Slaves," said Suleiman bin Daud, "when this gentleman on my finger," that was where the impudent butterfly was sitting, "stamps his left foot, his left front forefoot, you will make my palace and these gardens disappear in a clap of thunder. When he stamps again, you will bring them back carefully. Now, little brother," he said, "go back to your wife and stamp all you've a mind to." Away flew the butterfly to his wife, who was crying, "I dare you to do it! I dare you to do it! Stamp! Stamp now! Stamp!" Balkis saw the 4 vast jinns stoop down to the 4 corners of the gardens with the palace in the middle, and she clapped her hands softly and said, At last Suleiman bin Daud will do for the sake of a butterfly what he ought to have done long ago for his own sake, and the quarrelsome queens will be frightened. But the butterfly stamped. The jinns jerked the palace and the gardens 1,000 miles into the air. There was a most awful thunderclap, and everything grew inky black. The butterfly's wife fluttered about in the dark, crying, "Oh, be good! I am so sorry I spoke. Only bring the gardens back, my dear darling husband, and I'll never contradict again." The butterfly was nearly as frightened as his wife, and Suleiman bin Daud laughed so much that it was several minutes before he found breath enough to whisper to the butterfly, "Stamp again, little brother. Give me back my palace, most great magician." "Yes, give him back his palace," said the butterfly's wife, still flying about in the dark like a moth. "Give him back his palace, and let's have any more horrid magic." "Well, my dear," said the butterfly as bravely as he could, "you see what your nagging has led to. Of course it doesn't make any difference to me. I'm used to this kind of thing. But as a favor for you, and to Suleiman bin Daud, I don't mind putting things right." So he stamped once more, and that instant the jinns let down the palace and the gardens without even a bump. The sun shone on the dark green orange leaves. The fountains played among the pink Egyptian lilies. The birds went on singing, and the butterfly's wife lay on her side under the camphor tree, waggling her wings and panting, "Oh, I'll be good, I'll be good." Suleiman bin Daud could hardly speak for laughing. He leaned back all weak and hiccuply, and shook his finger at the butterfly and said, "Oh, great wizard, what is the sense of returning to me my palace, if at the same time you slay me with mirth?" Then came a terrible noise, for all the 999 queens ran out of the palace, shrieking and shouting and calling for their babies. They hurried down the great marble steps below the fountain, 100 abreast, and the most wise Balkis went stately forward to meet them and said, "What is your trouble, O queens?" They stood on the marble steps, 100 abreast, and shouted, "What is our trouble? We were living peacefully in our golden palace, as is our custom, when upon a sudden the palace disappeared, and we were left sitting in a thick and noisome darkness, and it thundered, and jinns and afrits moved about in the darkness. That is our trouble, O head queen, and we are most extremely troubled on account of that trouble, for it was a troublesome trouble, unlike any trouble we have known." Then Balkis, the most beautiful queen, Suleiman bin Daud's very best beloved, a queen that was of Sheba and Sable and the rivers of the gold of the south, from the desert of Sind to the towers of Zimbabwe. Balkis, almost as wise as the most wise Suleiman bin Daud himself, said, "It is nothing, O queens. A butterfly has made complaint against his wife because she quarreled with him, and it has pleased our lord Suleiman bin Daud to teach her a lesson in low speaking and humbleness, for that is counted a virtue among the wives of the butterflies." Then up and spoke an Egyptian queen, the daughter of a pharaoh, and she said, "Our palace cannot be plucked up by the roots like a leek for the sake of a little insect. No, Sulaiman bin Daud must be dead, and what we heard and saw was the earth thundering and darkening at the news. Then Balkis beckoned that bold queen without looking at her, and said to her and to the others, "Come and see." They came down the marble steps, 100 abreast, and beneath his camphor tree, still weak with laughing, they saw the most wise King Suleiman bin Daud rocking back and forth with a butterfly on either hand, and hear them say, "O wife of my brother in the air, remember after this to please your husband in all things, lest he be provoked to stamp his foot yet again. For he has said that he is used to this magic, and he is most eminently a great magician, one who steals away the very palace of Suleiman bin Daud himself. Go in peace, little folk." And he kissed them on the wings, and they flew away. Then all the queens, except Balkis, the most beautiful and splendid Balkis, who stood apart smiling, fell flat on their faces, for they said, "If these things are done when a butterfly is displeased with his wife, what shall be done to us, who have vexed our king with our loud speaking and open quarrelling through many days?" Then they put their veils over their heads, and they put their hands over their mouths, and they tiptoed back to the palace, most mousy quiet. Then Balkis, the most beautiful and excellent Balkis, went forward through the red lilies into the shade of the camphor tree, and laid her hand upon Suleiman bin Daud's shoulder and said, "O my lord and treasure of my soul, rejoice, for we have taught the queens of Egypt and Ethiopia and Abyssinia and Persia and India and China with a great and memorable teaching." And Suleiman bin Daud, still looking after the butterflies, where they played in the sunlight, said, "O my lady and jewel of my felicity, when did this happen? For I have been jesting with a butterfly ever since I came into the garden." And he told Balkis what he had done. Balkis, the tender and most lovely Balkis, said, "O my lord and regent of my existence, I hid behind the camphor tree and saw it all. It was I who told the butterfly's wife to ask the butterfly to stamp, because I hoped that for the sake of the jest my lord would make some great magic, and that the queens would see it and be frightened." And she told him what the queens had said and seen and thought. Then Suleiman bin Daud rose up from his seat under the camphor tree, and stretched his arms, and rejoiced, and said, "O my lady and sweetener of my days, know that if I have made a magic against my queens for the sake of pride or anger, as I made that feast for all animals, I should certainly have been put to shame. But by means of your wisdom I made the magic for the sake of a jest and for the sake of a little butterfly, and, behold, it has also delivered me from the vexations of my vexatious wives. Tell me, therefore, O my lady and heart of my heart, how did you come to be so wise?" And Balkis the queen, beautiful and tall, looked up into Suleiman bin Daud's eyes, and put her head a little on one side, just like the butterfly, and said, "First, O my lord, because I loved you, and secondly, O my lord, because I know what womenfolk are." Then they went up to the palace and lived happily ever afterward. But wasn't it clever of Balkis? There was never a queen like Balkis, from here to the wide world's end. But Balkis talked to a butterfly as you would talk to a friend. There was never a king like Solomon, not since the world began. But Solomon talked to a butterfly as a man would talk to a man. She was queen of Sabea, and he was Asia's lord. But they both of them talked to butterflies when they took their walks abroad. And that, my friends, is the end of Just So Stories. It's the end of the book.
Wow. This story was actually shorter than the others as well.
Yeah, I figured that the last story would probably be shorter to round it all up. So, yeah, that was a storybook. It was, for me, it was so nice to read to you guys. I'm switching back to the contents, and you see all the stories that you have been read. First Nazir says, I think the last one's best. Yeah, that was my next question, why I scrolled back. I would like to hear which ones you love the most. Did you have a clear favorite? Phoenicia says she likes them all. Yeah, there were so many different ones I really enjoyed.
And lots of different voices as well.
Yeah.
Funny thing, Ferris says that sometimes the butterflies sounded like Steve Urkel.
Oh, really? I should look that up, I guess.
Wait, oh, you might not have seen that show. Let me get you a clip.
Maybe you can place it in the chat.
Yeah. I'm just seeing.
Hirosaka says the story before with the cats is my favorite. Yeah, that's a nice one as well. Yeah, it does explain a lot. It's cats just have not been entirely. They have not become as tame as all the other animals. Let's see, there's a link.
Yes, I found something.
Ah, I see. Yes.
In the meantime, Furry and the doctor went to bed, so they aren't around at this particular moment as well. And I'm currently looking for a nice raid target. You of course can always visit Phil again.
Yeah, but we've been there last time, so it would be a little fast.
Trying to find
the one
something.
About the crab was nice. Yes, Curious, I agree. That one was fun. And Kirosakyo says the first letter too was good. Yeah, it's really difficult to pick one really real favorite. They were so different. Oh no, thanks. I loved reading for you guys. So yeah, now the challenge is to find a new book.
Oh, I can put up a poll as we're waiting. While I find.
But a poll for what? Because we haven't found a new book.
Well, you got from the last one there were 3 votes. Just so
Yeah, and now there are
stories.
only 2 left, so
Yeah, oh,
we
which
still need to find a
a
nice
third one.
third option.
Okay.
Kiri says you should also watch The Invention of the Lie. And what is this then? I see it's a romantic comedy. The first human with the ability to lie in a world where people can only tell the truth. And is it like why should it? Why is it so great to watch? Is it similar like Just So Stories, or what made you remember that? It goes deeper than the plot makes it look. But it can be read. There's not a book of it. I'll keep it as a note, then I may watch it. It is very similar. Ah, cool. So, what are some books? Are some of you guys reading books right now? If so, tell me which book you are reading. It will remind me of a book. Oh, so cryptic. Phoenicia is too busy to read books. Gyrus is reading exam preps.
I'm not. I should read a couple of books again, but right now I'm stuck in lots of manga readings because it's easy and light.
Nazir, a funny thing. My last book was an audiobook. Ah, you mean Just So Stories? Oh, The Alchemist. Yeah. Kaneko also doesn't read usually. Too lazy. Mm. Do you read comics and manga? Because that too is reading. Indeed, Phoenicia, manga are books too. Hirasaka Joe only reads manga and scientific books. Black hole, space, dark matter. Oh, that's really cool. I didn't know you were interested in that. That's awesome.
Akira is kinda light, Feroz, compared to some of the stuff I read, but it's Still a lighter read than most books, actually. At least for me. Who to rate? Who to
Akira is a
rate?
really good classic. Did you guys all hear that there was uh, this conspiracy theory that the creators of Akira had correctly predicted that there would be a virus outbreak in 2020?
Okay, well. There are a lot
But,
of conspiracy theories with viruses and
yeah.
stuff like that.
Yeah, but this one I found very amusing. And I think that if you Google it, that you'll still find it. Did Akira predict the coronavirus outbreak? They even have pictures to support it.
Do we want a new raid target or someone we visited before?
Both could be fun. Do you have a preference for one of the or the other?
Oh, we have Yelly Cat, the
Mm-hmm.
one we visited, I think, a couple of weeks ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which stream do you think is the most fun right now? Do you want to leave everyone in a good place?
Yeah, no, I think the Yelly Cat one is looking really good. It sounds like they're having fun there. And they've
All right.
started about 30 minutes ago, so she could be
Yeah,
going
then
for quite a while.
let's go there. And indeed, The Simpsons also predicted almost everything. Doesn't matter what happens, it's always, that the Simpsons have already done it.
Yeah. So why are they actually going for the conspiracy theory with the creators of Akira while we have the Simpsons going on? I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to go for Cat.
All right.
She's doing a
Cool.
Pride Month drawing, and it looks actually really good as well.
Awesome. Yeah, she's fun to visit. So let's
Yeah,
go there.
but not at the moment. Let's see. Oh well, we already did it. Wow, the time goes by really, really, really quickly.
Yeah, it does.
I mean, I have the feeling we just. I mean, you've been doing all the work. Of course, it's easy for me, but. No, but
Wait
we've.
a minute.
I think she's going to hunt down a cat.
And failed.
Of course, they're very, very quick.
Yeah, they are.
Okay,
Sorry.
but yeah, time flew by. I mean, just like, I had the feeling we were just fighting with the dreaded error 1000 a couple of minutes ago, and all of a sudden it's like poof, here we are. And Curious
Yeah.
is going to bed. Well, I think it's time then to raid our next target for the ones accompanying us to Jellycat's
Yes.
plans, compound, whatever.
Get
Um,
your raid calls ready and see you all next Sunday.
yes, Sunday will be a regular stream, and next Wednesday will be another Chaos and Coyote stream. Unless you people, and I'm going to try to vote again next Sunday, vote for more story time from Nancy. I have to
Alright.
keep it honest, right?
Yeah. We'll see what they'll do, if they'll surprise you.
Well, if they surprise me, you're going to be reading, so it's okay.
Yeah. Alright. Well,
I wouldn't mind actually. I mean, I
we
like
will
the
see
I
what
like the
happens.
Coyote streets, but these are so soothing. It's really, I don't know, after a long day, after long days of work, this is really really nice. So yeah,
Yeah, I'm
but
glad for that.
that's just me. Anyway, we're going to be raiding in a couple of seconds.